everybody. Becky Cordero here, bringing you the hottest legislation and legislators each week from StateSurge.com. Sorry we missed you all last week. We've been reworking our release schedule and will now be releasing on Wednesday of each week. So without further delay, here are the top 5 pieces of legislation and legislators for this week, the week of April 19th, 2010. The top piece of legislation this week was New York's A09038 and involves, believe it or not, healthcare. A09038 was sponsored by Democrat Joseph Morell, who has sponsored 230 bills this session and is a chairperson on the House Insurance Committee. This assembly bill was signed by the governor and extends health insurance coverage to all unmarried children under the age of 29. Moving down south to Tennessee, State Representative Philip Johnson, a Republican from the 78th District, was the second most visited page on StateSurge.com this week. Johnson, who has sponsored 26 bills this session, serves on various House and Senate committees, including being a House chair for rural roads and a member of the Senate Transportation Committee. Representative Johnson has been in Tennessee news this week trying to implement stricter usages for police traffic cameras. Now, this doesn't mean that you can go running a red light in Chattanooga this weekend, but the new changes do state that no extra fines or costs may be levied for late payments. So when you do get a ticket, feel free to procrastinate a bit. While most of us still have Easter on the mind, Michigan is preparing for July 4th with HB 5999. This House bill, known as the Michigan Firework Safety Act, seeks to further regulate and tax the fireworks industry in Michigan by, among other changes, adding a 5% safety tax on top of all fireworks sales. The act also charges fireworks vendors $5,000 for the right to sell fireworks in the state. Now, with fireworks accidents on the decline the last generation, do you think the government should step in with this sort of regulation? Leave a comment on StateSurge.com or on YouTube to let us know what you think. Brad Ashford, a non-partisan senator from Nebraska's 20th District, was in the news this week for suggesting that the National Guard be used in Omaha to complement the police force in violent areas. Ashford was quoted saying, "I'm not suggesting the National Guard be some occupying force. I'm talking about patrolling hotspot areas. I don't think it's at that point yet, nor does anybody else." The governor of Nebraska, Governor Heineman, shot down this idea a few days later, saying, "I have no intention of employing or deploying the National Guard to North Omaha. It's totally inappropriate. It's a bad idea." And finally, the 5th most visited page on StateSurge.com this week was Georgia's SB 498, which would add a substance called K2 to the Schedule I controlled substance list. K2 is being called synthetic marijuana, and the legislation is pouring in from around the country to get it banned. Georgia, along with Illinois, Kansas, Missouri, and Tennessee, are all pushing to criminalize K2 with legislation this session. Georgia's bill, SB 498, has 6 sponsors and will certainly be a hot-button topic over the next few weeks. Let us know where you stand on this issue. And now for the part of the show where we feature your comments and thoughts about legislation in all 50 states. This week we picked out one comment from the state of Georgia. Inclusion, which is a very interesting username, had this to say on Georgia's HB 1338, which would remove the requirement for those enforcing disability-related parking laws to be disabled themselves. With unemployment among people with disabilities hovering around 70%, virtually unchanged since the passage of the ADA in 1990, I recommend that this provision be left intact. It will stimulate much-needed employment for Georgians with disabilities and Georgia veterans with disabilities. Well, everybody, that's your update for the week of April 19th, 2010. Be sure to check back every Wednesday for the next State Surge Weekly, and don't forget to leave your comments on StateSurge.com or email us at weekly@statesurge.com to be part of the next show. So get out there and make your voice heard.